Hello there, Internet. My name is Mogwai, and ahead of us lies yet another brilliant day in the arena. As today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going undercover, spot, whatever. We're playing a cloak deck. I don't know where I was going with that, but we're playing a cloak deck. We're playing a cloak deck built around YARUS, Roar of the Old Gods, a 4-mana Gruul legendary centaur druid with a 4/4 stat line and an ability that says other creatures you control have haste. That is already a very nice ability, okay, Timmy? That's really neat. It allows you to make it so that everything that you develop besides this guy will be able to attack immediately, and that's a pretty big deal, I think. Yeah, especially those of you who like to smork know this already. Whenever one or more face-down creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Face-down synergy. When I saw this card, it wasn't quite fitting because I thought that a card that would, blend in with this face-down mechanic would be more like spy-like. This is just an old centaur. So I didn't really I glossed over this card several times until I finally stumbled upon it, and I'm like, wait, this is a card that is designed to synergize around the cloak mechanic. And now if I mix or I substitute coat for cloak, if I say one when I'm supposed to say the other, it's this card's fault. I don't know why this card is not called Cryptic Cloak. Cryptic coat, really, with a cloak mechanic. Just call it cloak, man. You're making my life so much harder. You have no idea. I'm going on a tangent there, but yeah, cloak. All right, cloak is the mechanic. To cloak something, as you can see right there, means that you put that onto the battlefield, the creature, or whatever it is you cloaked, as a 2/2 creature with ward 2, which means that anything that targets that creature, they need to play the ward price for the effect to resolve, otherwise it gets countered. And then it says turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. What we have here is a Timur, even though the only source of blue is the Cryptic Coat. So it's mostly a Gruul deck with a bit of blue for this, but it's a Timur mid-range list that is designed to combo off and allow us to cheat off very big creatures. Very menacing, very big creatures for very little, potentially. Naturally, this is a deck that is a bit variance-driven because we are dependent on being able to find our key pieces. We need to cloak the big creatures, and that can be easier said than done. We have a lot of mechanisms incorporated onto this deck to try to make that happen more often than not. But it's still a deck that is more draw-dependent than others, and therefore not a deck that I would recommend for you to climb ranked with. But ultimately a very, very fun deck, and it's honestly consistent enough. I have actually climbed through rank with this. Barely, but I have. And it's so fun, man. People just have no idea what's going on, and they just don't see things coming. And it's just so... This is what I love about playing underplayed cards. It's just people don't know what the fuck to do. It's just glorious. But we have, like I said, a cloak deck. Because YARUS not only allows you to draw a card whenever you connect with your cloaked creatures onto the opponent's life points, YARUS allows you to, like I mentioned, return cloaked cards when they die, and then if it's a permanent, flip them over. So that's just absolutely neat. We have YARUS, and then we have I was gonna say a full set, but that's not true. 3 copies of Expose the Culprit, which is a 2-mana instant. We only use it for the first option, which is to turn target face-down creature face up. So we have a full set of Cryptic Coat, and we have a full set of Hide in Plain Sight, which looks at the top 5 cards of our library. We cloak 2 of them and then put the rest in the bottom of the library. So this card and Cryptic Cloak allows us to cloak the top card or some of the top cards of our library and put them onto the field. These cards are face down. They're 2/2 creatures with ward 2, and that's all they are. But with YARUS in the mix, if these cloaked creatures connect, they draw you cards, and if they die, they reveal what's under them. And we have a lot of nasty shit to bamboozle our opponents with. We have 2 copies of Ghalta, the Stampede Tyrant, 3 copies of the Vaultborn Tyrant, we're all about them tyrants, and the Incinerator of the Guilty. This card is very underplayed, but fits this deck beautifully because it turns out that cards with upon entry effects don't really blend well with this sort of flipping up mechanic. Even though I am running 2 cards with an upon entry effect, the idea is I have them for either their pure size, like Ghalta, but Ghalta can also potentially allow me to play these high-end creatures from my hand all at once as well in certain situations. And the Vault-Born Tyrant is there because when it dies, it comes back. And that makes this a very, very reliable option to have. And it's going to be allowing us to heal and draw whenever we start playing other big creatures on when it's on the board. And this is not as relevant as in other decks that run Vault-Born Tyrant, but it does come into play because when we are trying to cheat out some of these creatures, we do just like do the boring thing and pay mana and play them regularly as well. We have mains to ramp. We have the Armored Scrap Gorger as a 2-drop that can tap to add 1 mana of any color. What I like about this card as well is that when he becomes tapped, I get to exile a target card from a graveyard. If I exile a total of 3 cards and I put 3 old counters on this, it'll have +3 power, so it'll be a 3/3 for 2. Which is pretty nutty, right? But keep in mind that it takes a while for that to happen. So, you know, like it's not like this creature is broken or anything, but this creature gives us the ability to run, like focus on our game plan and being able to accelerate some of our plays while also giving us a way to interact with opposing graveyards and a direct counter to graveyard-centric decks. I've not faced against like a more efficient counter to graveyard strategies than the Armored Scrap Gorger because it just keeps tapping and just keeps exiling constantly without having to pay any mana to do it, which is pretty amazing, right? And having multiple copies of this card that allow us to ramp into our, you know, the greedier portion of our deck while also attacking the opposing graveyard is very relevant. We're running Lightning Strike because with this color combination, this is the best source of like an instant, you know, deal damage and potentially remove an early threat. Very important against aggressive decks, which we are vulnerable to, as it does. You know, it does get us a while to get going, but the deck is designed to be able to come back even against aggressive decks. Hide in Plain Sight is a very strong tempo play in that regard, as it allows us to spawn 2/2/2s for just 4 mana. Like, this card is just, in a vacuum, is pretty great. And the fact that it can synergize with a bunch of our stuff makes it even better. We have Ochre Kaslim as a one-off. You know, you see a lot of Akhlazats, aka the Black God. This is the Green God. And the Green God is pretty damn good, honestly. Like, if it gets going with its attacks, it can lead to a lot of value and momentum. And if it just goes down, it becomes a land, and it makes it easier for you to cast the big boys, or dragons, lizards, reptiles, essentially. As we have a full set of Rubber Belt Maverick, and the reason behind that is here's when we dive a little bit deeper into the theory behind this deck, and hopefully I don't take a huge, like a long-ass time explaining this, but there's a lot that went into planning these specific distributions, right? Because I would like to be running more Lightning Strikes. I would like to be able to play a 4th copy, Expose the Culprit, but everything in this deck is very tight in that regard because we do need the Rubber Belt Maverick. A lot of times we're going to be trying to use the Surveils from Rubber Belt Maverick and or our lands because we do run a full set of Commercial District and we do run a full set of Hedge Maze. We are really going in on Surveil lands. Even though they're tap lands, they allow us to see what's at the top of our deck, which can allow us to determine or try to set up something big to cloak with the Cryptic Coat. If we play Rubber Belt Maverick on turn 2, alongside a tap land, on turn 3, we can play Cryptic Coat, and we can set up with a double Surveil so that we draw whatever card we draw like the weaker card or the land, whatever we put on top, and then we leave the big card there, and then we cloak it. It's important for us to really hunt for these big creatures for the cloak because then the payoff from Expose the Culprit and YARUS, keep in mind you can also Lightning Strike your own cloaked units in a pinch to make them flip over. Or you could just pay their mana, but sometimes it's just easier to just pay 2 mana to do it, even if you're expending a card in the process. This allows us to really get the upper hand of the opponent and get these big creatures online. So that's why it's structured like that. We can 1-drop, 2-drop, land, second land into Armor Scrap Gorger, and then we can develop the Cryptic Goat alongside, but first playing a tap land on 3. But because we have the Armor Scrap Gorger, we can tap and play the Cryptic Coat on turn 3 anyways. But we can also use the Scrap Gorger to go from turn 2 to our more dense turn 4 options with Hide in Plain Sight or YARUS. So we can use it to ramp into that as well. So there's a lot of details that justify the high density of Surveil lands within this deck. And because we have the Armor Scrap Gorgers, and depending on your opening hand, you can approach the game in one way or another, essentially. I want to give a big shout out to the Incinerator of the Guilty as last, though, because this is a really cool 6-drop that really puts in the work in this deck. We don't have any interaction with our graveyard in the sense that we don't resurrect anything from there, but we do want to have big stuff in the graveyard so we can collect evidence with this thing, as a lot of times we can direct an attack with one of our cloaked creatures, this being cloaked, and then we can flip it over with like an exposed culprit, and then all of a sudden this Incinerator of the Guilty connects, and then we're able to board wipe them. Because we have cards like Hide in Plain Sight, that is a 4-mana sorcery that allows us to already have like an evidence play with this that allows us to deal 4 damage to everything that they have. But we go above that very, very easily because we don't focus on interacting with our graveyard in any other way. There's a downside to Armored Scrap Gorger. It's not an option. Like, you have to exile something from a graveyard every time you tap it, which includes yours. So sometimes if your opponent's not playing much, you can start exiling yourself. Prioritize lands over anything else because you want to have stuff that costs mana in there so that we can potentially collect the evidence with Incinerator of the Guilty and wipe their board. This card definitely a lot better than it looks. You know, people tend to ignore 6 drops if they don't have like haste or something like that. But this guy in this deck, being able to flip it over, is an absolute star, and I'm really happy I incorporated it onto the list. And I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Magic the Gathering content. Hope you enjoyed today's deck. It's definitely not something that you see every day. Put a lot of thought into it, and it's really fun. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. Love you. Have a soul day. Enjoy today's matches. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I actually started this video like 7 minutes ago. Not 7 minutes, like 5 minutes. But my first game, I queued into somebody who just went AFK. That happens a lot in Magic Arena. Just people who queue into a game and then just like leave. Like, there's definitely more people just going AFK in this card game than I think any other card game that I've ever played. It's pretty crazy. But hopefully this time around we will have an actual match by somebody who, you know, stays and plays the game because they just queued into a game, you know. Makes sense, right? I'm gonna keep because I have a Rubber Belt Maverick, but there's a lot that's wrong with this hand. I'm gonna lead off with the Hedge Maze. I'm gonna keep Hide in Plain Sight. What's wrong with this hand is that it's extremely low curve, and I have a lot of ramp, but nothing to ramp into so far. But we can, you know, change that aspect. I'm gonna develop the Carplucent Forest and play the Armored Scrap Gorger. Whenever we tap this, we'll be able to add any mana of one color, which is gonna be really neat. There's maybe a cut down. It is a cut down. Copperline Gorge. We're gonna go for the Rubber Belt Maverick here. Get rid of that land. Keep YARUS. Develop another Armored Scrap Gorger. I'd be happy if it wasn't a cut down because, you know, I would be getting a removal out of them that could threaten one of my other units. We see Vron, the Executioner Thane. Whenever one or more creatures you control die? Okay. I know this card. I don't think it's a particularly good card. I'm gonna go for the district. I'm gonna drop a land. We have more than enough lands with all these scrap gorges as well. And I'm gonna develop YARUS. And I'm gonna exile their card with the Armored Scrap Gorges. It's not an optional ability, by the way, in case you're wondering. But we're playing YARUS now. And we're gonna pray to everything that he sticks around. We'd love to have him around at least for one turn. Urtai Resurrected comes down and kills your boy YARUS, but draws us a card. A land at that, so not great. But we get a nice Cryptic Coat, which I like. We pull another land, but that's fine. We're gonna play you. This is gonna force us to remove something from our graveyard, but it's just gonna be a land. As we develop another Armored Scrap Gorger, we're prioritizing lands over other stuff because we can collect evidence with this deck later down the line. So I'm gonna develop another Armored Scrap Gorger, call that a turn. And now we have a total of 7 mana. So that means that barring Galta, anything that we top deck is playable if these two remain on the board. And this guy is 1 oil counter away from being a 3/3. We see Plaza of Heroes in the double, so, you know, it is definitely a legendary creature centric Esper deck, I would assume, with some Phyrexians. Butcher, both of them have Menace. Still can trade into Ran. They don't have the mana to trigger the Plaza of Heroes. Okay. They get to destroy... They destroy one of our Scrap Gorgers. They surveil 2. They can attack here, but I'm just gonna... trade, brother. I'm gonna trade into your shit. Get rid of that. I could recycle the Cryptic Code, but I see no reason not to just play this. Get one Voltaren in there in case I find another YARUS later in the line. And keep this in the back. We can use the mana. We could have used the mana to pump something up here, but I don't have a particular target that I want to be hunting for right now. Can trade with Urtai here. That's a good combination, because now we go with the Royal Maverick. We get another land there. Unfortunately, we're not finding the combos. We do have chump blockers for a while, but I gotta keep recycling this Cryptic Cloak this Cryptic Coat if I want to get somewhere. Eaten Alive, onto that. I'm gonna get rid of that. Double? Double trouble? Oh, there's YARUS. And expose the culprit. Okay. I mean, these are both cards that would have been great top decks if I would have been able to preserve my board. But I really wanted to get rid of Shieldred there. Especially while they weren't able to tap Plaza of Heroes to protect it. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go at it again. They went for Rankle's Prank. They can bring back this, but right now they don't have much going on here. We're gonna activate the Cryptic Coat. It's a clean slate, baby, and these Cryptic Coats are really coming into play. I just do not have. Wait. YARUS. YARUS comes in. And I swing with my face down card. With YARUS, I'll be able to draw a card if this connects. I don't see why it shouldn't. These lands don't interfere. We draw a card. A land would be nice. That's pretty decent too. We're at 8 health though. We gotta be mindful. But as we return Cryptic Coat, we can threaten a lot of damage next turn, and they're top decking. And they need to sacrifice an artifact or a creature to return this. The reason why, you know, it's it seems like they have options to do is because of the Plaza of Heroes being able to target my own legendary creature. So they don't really have plays here. They can sack Vran to bring back the Grafted Butcher, but it just doesn't really do much. Like, this is a very powerful effect with Ranko's Prank, but it's also a symmetrical effect. And getting rid of that Shieldred was pretty important, even though it felt bad initially because we lost some potentially key cards. We just gotta keep going with our top decks and make sure we're not getting worn down. This can, yeah, no, this doesn't do anything. Very end of the turn, we activate the Cryptic Coat ability, returning it to our hand. And with YARUS, every face down, I mean, all our creatures could have haste, basically. So we could just play Incinerator of the Guilty, to be honest. They can use Plaza of the Heroes to make them preserve this as a blocker. I'm gonna go with the Cryptic Coat. You're not ready for this. Combo, baby. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure of this. I'm gonna Lightning Strike my own cloaked card. Surprise, motherfucker. Hey! Oh, that was sick. That's the first time I've done that, actually, because I'm used to flipping them over, but like actually like lightning striking it with Jair's on board, like that's the first time but you know, that's an option. Just so you know. In case you're wondering why this has haste, because of Jair's ability, other creatures you control have haste. Oh man, that's a good way to start things. Makes me forget about that first game that wasn't a game. All right, round 2. Okay. Who puts their email as their use? I'm gonna keep. It's a 4-lander, but we have the Cryptic Coat and we have exposed the culprit. English. I'm gonna lead off with the Commercial District. Get rid of that excess land. We can then follow it up with the Botanical Sanctum into one of the Pain lands here. We see a Concealed Courtyard, Orzhov, Hopeless Nightmare. Hopeless Nightmare. And we're gonna be discarding our Complusion Forest, yeah. I can drop Maverick now. And I can see if I can set up a powerful... If I top deck this and I play the Cryptic Coat, I bring out YARUS. But I kind of want YARUS. I get to flip that with Expose the Culprit, but that's... Unless it's something like bigger, it's not generally as worth. So I can draw YARUS and then I can play the Cryptic Coat after. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's drop the Lightning Strike. Let's keep YARUS at the top of our deck. Seems like it's Orzhov bounds. We're gonna Cryptic Coat here. See what we pull. Hide in plain sight. As long as it's not a land. Let's do that again. We find a land that's very nice. We can bounce back Cryptic Coat. It's not a... It's a tap land, but it's better than nothing. Clay-fired bricks. They search for plains cards, so they found the artifact that's going to allow them to find the third land that they're searching for. But that means that their hand is packing with a lot of stuff. And while they may have a slow start, they've managed to hinder... They returned that. I'm going to return this to my hand. And I'm going to play YARUS, Roar of the Old Gods. I mean, they have 2 Tithing Blades. They didn't bounce this back because I assume they have even more removal. Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to play this Oher Kaslim here. No such luck. Unfortunately. It's all 4 Tide Blades. We just get all the lands with this. This just... It always feels so bad when this happens. It always feels so bad when this happens, when you're like... You happen to always hit the lands and then draw the big stuff. Like, if this is the other way around... They can't get rid of that. So they just clicked buttons and they played this for nothing. We have the lightning strike to hit this. I could play another Cryptic Coat into, but I'm just going to play Oher Kaslim, because if Oher Kaslim dies, I get a land. And I'm going to keep both of these blockers in the back. Whenever equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature and each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. This is kind of slow anyways. I think I just kind of like want to keep pushing damage. Like, I don't really care about this invasion of New Capena, like the what they get after beating it down. They do that before actually, like, striking into it, though. I'm gonna drop the Vaultborn Tyrant just because I have to keep playing off of these cloak effects. Eventually, I'm gonna cloak something good, and I'm gonna be able to flip them over. It's a Cryptic Coat game, and we're gonna be able to do this now. Like, we're gonna be able to hedge maze to see if we can find a big creature. We drop that. We play you, and we get another land. Well, let's go for damage then. Let's go for damage then. We have these 2 cloaked creatures that cannot be targeted. They're gonna solve that case. We're just gonna try to beat them down this way. You know, that's why I say that this deck is not like, I wouldn't recommend this deck for climbing ladder because it is variance dependent, right? Like we are, it's like kind of like a gambler's deck, you know, like we are trying to get that. Yeah, they're gonna psycho that Tithe Blade. We're gonna sacrifice the weaker one, and we're gonna keep pushing forward. Okay, we have 6 mana. This is extremely promising here. Except we just cannot find... I have exposed the culprit here to flip any of these. I can flip over YARUS, but I also want to be bouncing the cryptic code so I can keep doing that. Unless they want to play that again, and what we're going to do is we're going to expose the culprit. We're going to target you to flip over YARUS, so that now, when I sack this, we at least get a land out of it. Oh, baby. And we got the top deck. Ladies and gentlemen, Incinerator of the Guilty! Which you are. That sounded cool in my head. Yeah, whatever. Let's trample him. Let's beat him down. Bit of an odd game because both of us were mana screwed this game. But they got a lot. They got a lot of cheap sustenance out of it. And we knock him out! Oh, that felt good. That felt good, though. Powering through all that shit. Sarcastically true. I was going to say something clever, but the problem is I couldn't come up with anything clever. Sucks, man. I'm gonna mulligan this because having 2 Vault-Board Tyrants and Galta, like this could be a game in which we work for that, like as a win con. Like if I can get to you and develop you and just play all these Vault-Born Tyrants, then we're just like, it's just insane. I'm gonna keep it actually. Against mono red aggro. Wonderful way to die. This could have been a greedier matchup, and this would have been a good keep in that case. I'm gonna drop the island. At least I got that lightning strike. Oh boy. What's happening? We're getting forged. Sucks that we had that mana open, but they made a play that navigates around that. That's rough as hell. I'm gonna go for the Cryptic Cloak. Now we gotta hide in plain sight. They play some moot. And we're in massive trouble. Because they're going to be able to draw cards here. And the Forge is just something that played on curve against us when going first. And when we have such a slow start is kind of a death sentence. I'm gonna have to... This is depressing. But I'm gonna have to double lightning strike this. I could have done this on their turn, to be honest, but they have green, which means they probably run protection. So I want to do this when the green is tapped, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not feeling optimistic about this one. I made a call. If it's a slower matchup, like this could lead to something, because I do have ramp within the deck and stuff. But yeah, this is really rough. Down to 6. I do not have the means to deal with this. Aura Brask's Forge is a very powerful card, and it's definitely showcasing that here. I'm just too far from where I need to be, and this puts me on a clock like few cards does. So we're gonna cry for a little bit, and we're gonna leave and move on. Lord Chimpy Banana. Nice to meet you, Lord Chimpy Banana. You know what, Banana? I got a pretty good hand. We have Cryptic Coat into Expose the Culprit with Rubber Belt Maverick support. So I actually do not want to lead off with Rubber Belt Maverick. I want to play Rubber Belt Maverick on turn 2 because we have the Cloak on 3. So we're going to lead off with a Hedge Maze. The Hedge Maze, we're going to pick up that Lightning Strike. It can be useful. We're going to play Rubber Belt Maverick now. I'm gonna play the district, and I'm gonna keep that hide in plain sight. I could probably keep that second lightning strike. If I see something like a bat, I'm definitely gonna regret this decision. But right now they're so fixated on this, and I'm not gonna block into that. That is a 3/3. I'm taking the 3 damage because keeping this Rubber Maverick can protect me from specific effects like Shieldred's Edict that will force me to discard a creature. So having the Maverick on the board is relevant in certain scenarios. We want a Cryptic Coat now and see whatever it is actually on top. And we hit a land, which is to be expected. I could keep swinging with the Maverick, but I'm... Yeah, no, honestly, I'm going to. Get a little bit of damage on him. And I'll trade with that. I'm gonna hide in plain sight and find the big boy. There it is. We have more than enough blockers in the back here, and we have exposed the culprit. We're going to use Rubber Maverick to trade into this. Oh, they hit the wrong one. Why would you do that now? Why would you do that now, my brother in Christ? I'm gonna keep this this face down card in the back, because if they attack with Shieldred again, I can surprise block into it. I'm gonna let them pay the ward first, and then I'm gonna be like, surprise, motherfucker! It was him all along! And now, as they destroy the Vaultborn Tyrant, he'll come back. And you know what? I am gonna trade into that. And return this. As long as I got my coat or that, it's all good, man. I'm gonna play dragon. I'm gonna do this. Hide in plain sight. Oh yes. Now, oh my goodness. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Now I got my toys. Oh man. Meu Deus. Let's go for the cryptic coat, which is another cryptic coat. Let's develop the Siobhan Wreath. Having 2 sources of blue can be important here. Now, how do I approach this? I can just flip this and get rid of Shieldred. But I kind of think it's more funny if I mean, this Galta can just be a ridiculous offset of damage. But I kind of want to make sure that I can clear that, so I think this is actually better. Even though Galta is like a massive hit, I can just collect my evidence here. Just gonna set up 6. Because I'm gonna do this and this. Get rid of Shieldred while still preserving my entire board here. And more importantly, also preserving the mana for Cryptic Coat to be able to bounce it. I want to keep doing this. Oh, he shot him out though! Oh, nice. Alright, Deg. Do I have a good hand here? I have a risky hand, that's what I have. This Galta, if this Galta were a land, I'd feel pretty great about this. But we have either... So, things can go our way with this hand if we either draw that 3rd land or if Armored Scrapgorger is left unchecked. So I'm going to play with those odds. If we're going first, there is an inherent advantage to that regarding momentum, but we just face mono red, so... I want to play the Armor Scrapgorger. Like, yeah, they can hit us hard here. We have this Lightning Strike, but we could preserve it. Okay. It's not mono red per se, but... we find the land. The Aloy Alchemist, you know, when plotted, and then they go for that, okay. Now I'm going to tap my Armor Scrap Gorger without having to exile from my own graveyard. I'm going to knock that out as we draw into you. I'm going to tap again. I'm devout YARUS, Roar of the Old Gods. And see if we can stay alive here. This is a big hit. I'm not going to block into it. I don't think they have lethal here. I'm still at 15. They can use some combat tricks, but I do not want to give them the YARUS. And because of that, I forced a 2-for-1 trade there. That's going to really come back to help us here. Because now we're going to go for the hide and play sight. And we're going to get you. And you. We have to factor in like what we're thinning out of the deck by doing this. They just dropped the land immediately. We got blockers. We got blockers all day, every day. We can pick you off one by one. We guarantee this. No, because if they buff you, we lose both. So we have to trade you and you. We're gonna force them to go for the snake skin veil or not. We're just clearing up their board this way. We just gotta keep building up our defenses. Keep hiding. We have to keep hiding in plain sight. The Scrap Gorger being gorgeous. We hide again. Now we got the big boys. Now we got all the big boys. And we keep piling them up. But why not just play a cryptic code here? Why not just swing with everything and start applying pressure onto them? Making use of this stalemate because they're running out of gas. We're at 8 health. I should be famous last words, right? But this is a big hit. This is like 7 damage. This puts them on quite the clock. Because I already have targets for flipping up, I'm actually not going to surveil for the Cryptic Cloak. I keep calling the Cryptic Cloak. The Cryptic Coat. I'm going to actually... Yeah, there's that 7 damage. I'm going to actually do it first. Whatever we get, since we already have targets there, and then I'm gonna surveil. And anything that's not like something that can really make me capitalize on this board, we're dropping away. We're dropping away. We have a 3-2 blocker in the back. It's not the most... Like, this back line does not make me feel super confident, but at the same time, like, they're low on gas. Picnic Ruiner can completely ruin our day if we do not respect it. So we will. Hide and play sight. Again, we just keep spreading out. We keep spreading out, and we pick cards that we do not want to top deck. We drop this. We have to put them on the clock. But we also cannot leave ourselves wide open. I do want to attack with you. At the very least, put you down to 10. Now, do I want to attack with the Scrap Gorger as well? I think so. This thing is scary. Like 8 health in the back. Like, what could happen here? They have +1/+1. If they have like +4, let's say +4, 6, and they gave it trample, like 8 with trample, like. It has to be a very specific set of cards, which makes me want to Swing with these two. I think it's safe if I do this. I have 4 blockers in the back. And I get to threaten more damage. Or they can just do that. But that's a card that could have gone to my face, so that's fine. And they chumped that. That's what I wanted. I want to remove their blockers. They're making sure they take more damage. Look at all that damage that could have been going to my face, but it isn't. Is that just beautiful? Don't mind me. I'm just cloaking. Cloaking. We're still 2 mana away from being able to play Gauta, so this Gauta in our hand, that's not really what we're focusing on. We're kind of in top deck mode, but we're riding these cloaks, baby, and this cryptic coat that just never runs out of gas, baby. Let's go with a buff on one of these. One that we don't want to die. So because you're just like an auto win if we flip you. Again, they can top deck 1 card, but it has to give them like tremendous power and trample. So this is the turn to really dive in. I'm gonna go with 3 though. Because there could be some crazy top decks like the adventure spell. But they go for the buff there. They give it a +1/+1 counter. But just like that, they're kind of like out of gas and they're technically, yeah, they're dead. I'm pretty sure they realize I have a Rokouuu Maverick here. You're dead. You're dead, brother. GG though. Beat him down with the cloaks. Not the flashiest win, like we didn't get to flip anything huge or anything, but you know, like you can't have that every time. And this is satisfying as hell. Yeah, just block whoever you want. Regardless, you die. GG. No re.